have to start the new year with a YouTube painting. This is my goal. My focus this year is going to be not entirely about YouTube, but I think it would just be a really cool idea for myself to keep putting, to keep growing, to keep putting myself out there, keep expanding my vocabulary when it comes to my work. And so here I am with another video for you all to watch. And I was going to just, first of all, just do this all to music. I tried to not edit out as much as I normally do. I try to keep the dancing down to a minimum. But I want you all to kind of have some sort of a concept of time, because these videos are, I think, times 4 for scrubbing, like high speed, and the video is only 13 minutes long, so 13 times 4, and then there's also a whole bunch of stuff that I cut out in between. So it's very rare that I just come into a painting and I'm able to finish it from start to finish. There are so many times where I'm sitting back or I'm standing back and I'm evaluating what I'm doing. A lot of the process of painting is to also look at your work, see what's working, check the values, check your colors, check your design. There's so many components that go into an abstract painting. And I want you all to remember that if you're not an abstract painter, there is no roadmap for where your mark should go or where your composition should be or how your colors should be interpreted. Because it's everything that's in my mind. It's what I'm feeling, it's what I'm trying to express, it's what I'm laying out onto the canvas. So let's say you're a realist painter or a floral painter, an abstract painter. Oh, sorry, not an abstract painter, I meant landscape. Usually, not always, but there's a reference for what a tree looks like, or how that tree would lay if it was crooked, or how many branches a tree should have, or what color trees are. And then you can interpret that in a whole different way, bending the colors, making them much more brighter or muted or unrealistic, like purple trees. And, those are all such beautiful landscapes. But when you're working in abstract, there is no roadmap. Everything is coming from my brain. So I'm creating in the moment. And I think that's why a lot of us abstract artists label ourselves as intuitive, because essentially that's what we're using. We're using our intuition as to where we should lay the next color or how our composition should look. Some abstract artists are more restrictive, I guess, in how they lay out their plan. They can do little maquettes, or they can do what's it called, sketchbook, and they can draw out their layout first. I don't work that way. I've never been one to I do plan things out, but I'm more of a mental planner. I take notes in my brain, in my head. I'll make lists. Sometimes I'll actually put lists on paper, but that really is more about like a grocery list or tasks that I have to accomplish to meet a goal. But when it comes in terms of painting, I'm right off the cuff, and I am in the moment and in the zone. And I think that's why I have good days of painting and not so good days of paintings, because not every day feels like a creative day, and not every day do I have the brain power or the imagination to create a work. So that's why I think music is so important to me. Music gets me off the couch. Music gets me moving. I love the rhythm. I love the beat. And I know, again, you guys ask me so many times of what music am I listening to. And I was going to actually do this whole video to, what's it called? To music. I just got a subscription for, I'm really horrible with names. I'm so sorry. Epidemic. I don't know. That just sounds like what we're all in right now is an epidemic. Okay, hold on, let me look at epidemic sound. It's funny how I chose epidemic. Sounds like pandemic. Maybe there's some correlation there. Okay, so anyway, I was going to add some of that music onto this, and I wasn't going to do a voiceover, and I was just going to just simply talk, or simply just listen to music, because I did leave a lot of my dancing in. And then I couldn't find the right beat, and there was just too much music to choose from, so I didn't go that route, and eventually, perhaps maybe I will. Here I go, dancing away. Okay, so I don't know if I've told this story before, but the reason I started, I didn't always dance when I painted. I was a really tight painter in the beginning. I was very restricted and tight, and my lines were very methodical, and I knew where they were going to be placed. And it wasn't until recently, I would say, probably in the last year and a bit, I was practicing for Sunday in the Park with George, which was a sort of musical that I was going to be the live painter in, and I had no idea as to what that was going to entail. And in my mind, I just thought, let's get used to being in front of a camera first, and just kind of let myself go and feel the music, because I knew the soundtrack of Sunday in the Park with George. There was lots of beautiful music in there, and I wanted to absorb that emotion and put it out into canvas. And that's how this body of work started. All of these tiny little squares, I would say, but loose squares, not restrictive squares. Sorry. Oh, goodness me. It's there. You should all, I'm telling you right now, record yourselves painting and watch it back, and you might get a chuckle out of it too. And I mean, why not? Instead of watching Netflix, watch yourself paint. I think you'll all get a hoot out of it. Okay, and so I was trying to develop a new body of work that would match George Seurat and myself. My style and his style mixed together. And if you all don't know who George Seurat is, then please look him up so that you'll have an idea of what I'm referring to. And I thought, if George and I got together and we sat down and we had a beer and we were having a conversation, or a pop, it doesn't have to be a beer, and we decided to collaborate on a body of work, what would it look like? And so I started listening to the soundtrack of Sunday in the Park with George over and over and over and over. And out of that, and me dancing to that music, came this body of work. And it was a really cool little concept. You know, without having been asked to be in that performance, all of this never would have happened. So I'm so appreciative of the director, Evan, who found me at an art show and asked if I would be interested in doing something like this, which I just want you all to know, completely out of my comfort zone. My work when it came to performance art back in my high school days was I was the set painter behind the scenes. Okay, so here now, I don't know where this came from, me twirling the paintbrush like a drumstick. So I did have a roommate for years who was a professional drummer, and I did learn how to twirl a drumstick. So I don't know, there must have been some really good beats in there or something that let me twirl the stick. I've never done that before. It's the first time I'm seeing that I'm doing it. And so I know when stuff like that happens, I'm in that, I think it's a special zone. I don't know, my default brain or something. I'm in sort of a trance-like state. I don't know how else to explain it. And this painting is going very well. I'm dancing quite nicely. And there wasn't like too much that I actually had to cut out when I watched it back. Sometimes I'll walk away from the camera for a half an hour, and I'll do something else because I'm not getting where I want the painting to go. But this one came quite easily. And it's just, I think it's a 24 by 24, and it's really hard to see the colors, but it's called Rusty Breezes. Rusty Breezes? I think that's what it's called. And it's sold, and I think it went internationally. I know it went internationally. I think it was Scotland, somewhere out there. Anyway, I don't really know what the whole point of this video is. It's just me really just sharing my thoughts on why I do some of the strange things that I do. So in terms of what I listen to when I'm painting, I'm certainly not listening to the soundtrack of Sunday in the Park with George anymore. However, I do miss it because all of those actors were unbelievably talented and they sounded so amazing. But it's a pretty heavy soundtrack. So I listen to anything with a beat that catches me. I love reggae. I love conscious reggae. I also love rock. I'm not really into pop, so I don't listen to like current stuff, like Dire Straits. It's hard for me to think of them all because I'm really not about names of singers. I know that's really not a good thing, and I should just look on my phone. But I have switched over to YouTube music, and what I do is every now and then when I have some time, I'll go through a whole bunch of their playlists that they put together, and I will give a thumbs up to anything that I feel the beat to, like anything that starts to get me moving when I'm listening to it. I'll go through and add that to a playlist, and then eventually I'll make a few different playlists that I'll listen to for more than I would like to admit. So it's a lot of repetitive stuff. So I'll listen to that playlist until I find that I can't paint very well anymore, and then I kind of know it's time to make a new playlist. It kind of invigorates me, recharges my battery, and gets me moving again like this. I think there were a few things I was supposed to, I kind of left out in this talk, and I'm not going to listen to this back. This is probably about my 10th time of trying to do a voiceover. And so I'm just going to let this play through, and you guys can listen to the whole thing if you choose to. If not, no worries. I don't think I would want to listen to myself all the time. And moving to the music keeps me loose. It keeps me like to not think about what I'm doing and stay on that intuitive plane where things are just coming instinctually. And that's that moment where I think I seem to paint the best. So I hope you enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.